Before we dive into this chilling tale, a quick note. This story explores themes of grief, psychological distress, and the unsettling boundaries between life and death in the digital age. Listener discretion is advised. Imagine this. You're scrolling through your phone, maybe trying to distract yourself from something heavy, something gut-wrenching. You see a notification pop up. It's from someone you know, someone you loved. But that person, they're dead, buried, gone. And yet, there it is. A new post, a new photo, a new comment from their account. Impossible, right? A glitch? A cruel joke? Or something far, far darker? This isn't some urban legend whispered around a campfire. This is a story that began in the quiet, suburban streets of Maple Creek, a town where everyone knew everyone, and secrets rarely stayed buried for long. This is the story of Emily Hayes, and the digital ghost that refused to rest. Emily and Sarah Jenkins had been inseparable since kindergarten. They navigated the awkward years of braces and bad haircuts, survived high school crushes, and even ended up roommates in their first apartment after college. Sarah was the vibrant one, the social butterfly, always the first to try a new restaurant, the quickest to laugh, and the most prolific poster on every social media platform imaginable. Her life was an open book, beautifully curated online. Emily, a freelance web designer, admired Sarah's effortless charm, often joking that Sarah's online presence alone could launch a marketing campaign. Sarah embraced it, her Instagram a kaleidoscope of sun-drenched selfies, witty captions, and meticulously arranged flat lays of her latest coffee shop finds. She lived online and everyone loved her for it. Then one rain-slick Tuesday night, everything changed. Sarah was driving home from a belated birthday dinner with her family, a route she'd taken 1,000 times. A sharp curve, a patch of black ice, and in a terrifying split-second collision, Sarah Jenkins was gone. The news shattered Maple Creek, but it splintered Emily's world into a million irreparable pieces. The funeral was a blur of hushed condolences and tear-stained faces. Emily delivered a eulogy that felt like pulling teeth, each word a fresh wound. She spoke of Sarah's infectious laugh, her unwavering loyalty, her incredible zest for life. She spoke of the digital legacy Sarah left behind, a vibrant tapestry of memories for everyone who loved her. The irony of that last statement would soon become a chilling prophecy. The days following Sarah's funeral were a fog of grief for Emily. She went through the motions, numbly answering texts, accepting casseroles from well-meaning neighbors, and trying to make sense of a world without her best friend. Sleep offered no escape, only restless dreams where Sarah was alive, laughing, then suddenly fading into a pixelated haze. Emily found herself endlessly scrolling through Sarah's old posts, a morbid comfort in seeing her friend's digital footprint, a testament that she had truly existed. Her Instagram, her Facebook, her TikTok, each profile was a digital shrine, frozen in time. Or so Emily thought. It was a week after the funeral. Emily was curled on her couch, a half-eaten pint of ice cream melting beside her, mindlessly swiping through Instagram. She'd been on Sarah's profile, looking at a photo from their last beach trip, a memory that now felt impossibly distant. She closed the app, tossed her phone onto the cushion, and stared blankly at the TV. A few minutes later, a stray thought pricked her mind. Had she just seen something? A flicker? She picked up her phone again, a vague unease settling in her stomach. She reopened Instagram and navigated back to Sarah's profile. Her breath hitched. Sarah's profile picture. It wasn't the one from the beach trip, the one she'd had for months. It was an older one, a picture from their junior year of high school, a slightly blurry selfie taken in Emily's backyard, both of them grinning, their faces smeared with mud from a spontaneous water balloon fight. It was a picture Emily adored, a private joke between them, one Sarah had changed out of her profile rotation years ago. Emily remembered specifically telling Sarah she should use it again, but Sarah always laughed it off, saying it was too messy. Her heart hammered against her ribs. No, this had to be a mistake. A glitch in the app, a cached image loading incorrectly. Emily, the web designer, immediately started troubleshooting in her head. She closed the app, cleared the cache, even restarted her phone. When she opened Instagram again, the same image stared back at her. The muddy, laughing face of a teenage Sarah. Panic, cold and sharp, began to spread through her veins. She checked the timestamp on the profile picture update. It showed as 10 minutes ago. 10 minutes ago. Sarah had been dead for over a week. Emily's fingers trembled as she navigated to Sarah's Facebook profile. The profile picture, there was still the beach photo. A wave of relief washed over her, quickly followed by a fresh surge of confusion. Why only Instagram? Was it an old scheduled post finally going live? But Sarah wasn't the type to schedule profile picture changes. And this specific picture, it felt personal. She tried to rationalize it. Maybe someone had access to Sarah's account. Her mom? Her boyfriend, Daniel? But why would they change only one profile picture, and to such an old, obscure one? And why wouldn't they tell Emily? They knew how much she was struggling. A cruel prank? No, Daniel was as heartbroken as she was. Sarah's mom was barely functioning. They wouldn't. They couldn't. Emily spent the next few hours frantically messaging Daniel, Sarah's mom, even a few of Sarah's closest friends. Had anyone else noticed anything strange? Had anyone accessed Sarah's accounts? Everyone's answers were the same. A resounding no. Daniel was furious at the suggestion, thinking Emily was accusing him of something perverse. Sarah's mom was too distraught to even process the question. Emily tried to explain her observation, but the words felt hollow, insane. Sarah's profile picture changed. After she died. It sounded like the ramblings of a person losing their grip on reality. She closed her laptop, her head throbbing. It had to be her grief. Her mind was playing tricks on her. She was seeing things, desperately trying to find a connection to Sarah where none existed. She forced herself to believe it was a phantom update, a glitch in the matrix of her own sorrow. She went to bed, but sleep remained elusive. Every shadow in her apartment seemed to deepen. Every creak of the old building sounded like a whisper. She tossed and turned, replaying the image of Sarah's muddy, laughing face in her mind. The next morning, Emily woke up feeling exhausted, but determined to put the incident behind her. It was a hallucination, a product of her grief-addled brain. She made coffee, trying to focus on mundane tasks. But the unease lingered, a cold knot in her stomach. She found herself, almost instinctively, picking up her phone and opening Instagram, just to check, just to confirm. Her heart stopped. The profile picture was still the muddy selfie, but beneath it, in Sarah's photo grid, a new post had appeared. A single solitary photo, uploaded just a few hours ago. It was a close-up of a half-eaten slice of blueberry pie on a chipped ceramic plate. Emily stared at it, frozen. Blueberry pie, Sarah's absolute favorite. A detail only her closest friends would know. It wasn't just any blueberry pie. It was the blueberry pie from the Daily Grind, their favorite local cafe, the one with the flaky crust and tart filling. Emily recognized the distinctive chip on the plate, a small crescent-shaped flaw near the rim. That plate belonged to Sarah. It was one of a set they had bought together at a vintage market years ago. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't a random hack. This was personal. This was Sarah's account, updating from beyond the grave, posting a photo that only Sarah, or someone intimately familiar with her life, could possibly have created. A shiver ran down Emily's spine, colder than any winter chill. This wasn't grief. This wasn't a trick of the light. This was impossible and terrifying. Who was doing this? And why? Was someone playing a sick, twisted game? Or was there something far more sinister at play? Something that defied every logical explanation, every law of nature? Emily felt a primal fear rising within her, but also a burgeoning, desperate need for answers. She knew with chilling certainty that she couldn't ignore this. She had to find out what was happening to Sarah's digital ghost, even if it meant confronting a truth that could shatter her world, and perhaps her sanity. The laptop screen glowed, a cold beacon in the silent apartment. Sleep was an impossible luxury now. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to find an explanation, a logical thread to pull, something to unravel this digital nightmare. She scrolled back through Sarah's profile, her fingers trembling slightly. The initial updates had been subtle, almost imperceptible. A profile picture change from a year ago, an old post liked, a comment on a mutual friend's photo from months past, suddenly appearing as if Sarah had just interacted with it. But now, as she scrutinized the timeline with a forensic eye, she saw it. A new post. Not a shared memory, not a repost, but a fresh, original status update. It was short, just a few words. Almost there. A wave of nausea washed over her. Almost where? What did that even mean? Sarah had been gone for 6 months. Her death had been sudden. A tragic car accident on a deserted stretch of highway. There was no ambiguity, no missing person report. Just a confirmed fatality, a funeral and an aching void. Yet, here was her digital self, tweeting cryptic messages from beyond the grave. She checked the timestamp. It was posted just an hour ago. Real time. This wasn't a glitch. This wasn't a scheduled post. No one schedules vague, ominous updates like "almost there" to go live 6 months after their death. Her mind raced, desperately searching for any other explanation. Hacking. That had to be it. Someone had gained access to Sarah's account. But why? To torment her friends? To play a cruel joke? And how would they even know Sarah's password? Sarah had been meticulous about her online security, always using complex passwords and two-factor authentication. She remembered Sarah once bragging about having a password so complicated even she struggled to remember it sometimes. She decided to test the hacking theory. She navigated to Sarah's other social media profiles: Instagram, LinkedIn, and old Tumblr account. Nothing. All dormant, frozen in time from the day Sarah died. No new posts, no likes, no activity whatsoever. It was only this one particular platform, the one where the "almost there" post had appeared, that was active. This narrowed the field, but also made the mystery far more unsettling. If it was a hacker, why only target one platform? And why such an obscure, almost poetic message? The thought gnawed at her. What if it wasn't a hacker? What if it was Sarah? The idea was absurd, terrifying, and utterly impossible. But the evidence, however illogical, was staring her in the face. She needed to talk to someone. Someone who knew Sarah as well as she did. Her gaze fell on her phone. Ashley. Sarah's closest friend, almost a sister. Ashley would know Sarah's digital habits, her quirks, her security measures. But how do you even begin that conversation? "Hey Ashley, remember Sarah? Her ghost just updated her social media." It sounded insane. Ashley was still grieving deeply. This could push her over the edge. Still, the urgency was overwhelming. She typed out a message to Ashley, then deleted it. Typed another, more cautious one, then deleted that too. Finally, she settled on a simple text. "Hey, thinking of you. Can we talk sometime soon?" Something weird came up. A benign enough opening, she hoped. While she waited for a reply, she went back to Sarah's profile, meticulously examining every detail. The profile picture was still the one from last summer, Sarah laughing, hair windswept, at the beach. The bio, unchanged, listed her passions: photography, travel, obscure indie bands. Everything was exactly as it had been, except for the new activity. She scrolled further down, past the "almost there" post, looking for any other anomalies. That's when she saw it. A photo, uploaded just minutes after the "almost there" status. It wasn't one of Sarah's usual vibrant, perfectly composed shots. This was different. It was dark, blurry, and seemed to be taken indoors. The subject was indistinct, a shadowy outline that could have been anything. A piece of furniture, a corner of a room, or even a person. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The photo was tagged with a single location: the old mill. The old mill. A shiver ran down her spine. It was an abandoned textile mill on the outskirts of their town, a notorious spot for urban explorers and teenagers looking for thrills. Sarah had always been fascinated by it, drawn to its crumbling grandeur and eerie history. They had even snuck in there once in high school, giggling nervously as they explored its derelict floors. But Sarah had been dead for 6 months. How could she have uploaded a photo from the old mill? This wasn't a random hacker playing games. This was specific. This was personal. This was Sarah. Or something trying very, very hard to be Sarah. The more she looked at the photo, the more details seemed to emerge from the shadows. Was that a broken window? Was that a patch of moss growing on a wall? It was undeniably the old mill. She knew those decaying brick patterns, the way the light, even in a blurry photo, struggled to penetrate the grime. Her phone buzzed. It was Ashley. "Hey, good to hear from you. Everything okay? I'm free tomorrow afternoon, want to grab coffee." Coffee? How could she casually discuss this over coffee? She typed back. "Coffee sounds great. Actually, it's pretty important. Maybe we could meet somewhere quiet." Ashley replied quickly. "Sure. My place? We can order in. Less distracting." Perfect. Ashley's apartment would offer the privacy she needed to drop this bombshell. The rest of the night was a blur of frantic research. She Googled social media updates after death, digital ghost, posthumous activity online, The results were a mix of morbid curiosity pieces, articles about digital legacies, and chilling urban legends. Nothing concrete, nothing that explained what was happening with Sarah. Most articles talked about pre-scheduled posts or family members accessing accounts to keep a memory alive. But this wasn't that. This was autonomous, spontaneous, and utterly inexplicable. She even tried to find information about the old mill, hoping for some local folklore that might shed light on its connection to the supernatural. There were stories, of course, whispers of restless spirits, strange occurrences, and a tragic fire decades ago that claimed several lives. But these were just local legends, not evidence of a deceased friend posting photos from its interior. As dawn approached, painting the sky in hues of bruised purple and gray, she felt a profound weariness settle into her bones. Her eyes burned, her head throbbed, but her mind refused to shut down. The image of Sarah's profile, the cryptic, almost there message, and the blurry, haunting photo from the old mill were burned into her consciousness. She pulled out her old digital camera, the one Sarah had given her for her birthday years ago. It had been Sarah's first serious camera, a clunky but reliable model they'd taken countless photos with. A crazy idea sparked in her mind. What if she went to the old mill herself? What if she could find the exact spot where that photo was taken? It was reckless, dangerous even. The mill was structurally unsound, a maze of crumbling walls and precarious floors. But the thought of waiting, of just sitting around, was unbearable. She needed to do something. She needed to see it with her own eyes. The sun was fully up now, casting long shadows. She knew it was too early to go. She needed to think clearly, plan her approach. And she definitely needed to talk to Ashley first. But the seed was planted. The pull of the mystery, the desperate need for answers, was drawing her towards that decaying structure, towards the heart of whatever impossible truth was unfolding. A new notification flashed on her laptop screen. Another update from Sarah's profile. Her blood ran cold. This time it wasn't a post or a photo. It was a change to Sarah's About section. Under Interests, a new entry had appeared, stark and chilling. Finding what was lost. Finding what was lost. The words echoed in her mind, a cold, unsettling whisper. What was lost? And why was Sarah, or whatever entity was manipulating her profile, so determined to find it? The initial fear was now laced with a growing sense of dread, a premonition that she was teetering on the edge of something far more profound and dangerous than a simple digital anomaly. This wasn't just about a profile updating after death anymore. This was a message, a desperate plea, and she was being drawn deeper into Sarah's final terrifying secret. The air in Emily's apartment felt thick, heavy with the impossible implications of the glowing screen. This wasn't just a digital ghost, a glitch in the algorithm. This was a deliberate act. A message. Sarah, her vibrant, intelligent, gone friend, was trying to tell her something from beyond the grave. The last image, a simple park bench, burned into Emily's mind. It wasn't just any bench. It was their bench. The one at Willow Creek Park, nestled under the ancient oak where they'd spent countless afternoons dreaming up futures, sharing secrets, sketching plans that felt world-changing at 15. A cold dread mixed with a surge of adrenaline. This wasn't a time for second-guessing. This was a call to action. Emily grabbed her car keys, her phone, and a small nondescript backpack. Her hands trembled slightly, but her resolve was iron. She had to go. Now, the drive to Willow Creek Park was a blur. Each familiar turn felt alien, tinged with a new, unsettling purpose. The usual afternoon joggers and dog walkers seemed to blur into the background, their mundane routines a stark contrast to the terrifying mission Emily was on. She parked a little distance away, her eyes scanning the parking lot, the surrounding trees, an instinctive caution she hadn't known she possessed suddenly flaring to life. She walked the familiar path, her gaze fixed on the old oak. There it was, the bench. It looked exactly as it always had. Weathered wood, sturdy iron legs, a silent sentinel beneath the sprawling branches. But to Emily, it now hummed with a hidden energy, a desperate plea echoing through the quiet afternoon. Approaching it, Emily felt a strange mix of poignant nostalgia and chilling anticipation. She ran her hand over the smooth, worn wood, almost expecting to feel Sarah's touch, to hear her laughter carried on the breeze. Then she got to work. Her eyes meticulously swept every inch of the bench. She checked the top, the seat, the backrest. Nothing obvious. No fresh carvings, no hastily scrawled notes. But Sarah was precise. Sarah was clever. Emily remembered their childhood games, the intricate hiding places they devise for their coded messages. She dropped to her knees, peering underneath, running her fingers along the rough-hewn planks. Her fingers brushed against something. Not a splinter, but a deliberate, almost imperceptible scratch. A tiny arrow etched into the underside of the wood, pointing towards the far left leg. Following the direction, Emily's fingers explored further, pressing against the wooden paneling that formed the base of the bench. One section felt slightly loose. With a focused effort, she managed to pry it open, revealing a small dark cavity within the bench's structure. Her breath hitched. Inside, nestled securely, was a small sealed waterproof container. It was the kind you'd use for camping, designed to keep contents dry and safe. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. As Emily reached in, her fingers closing around the container, a movement in her peripheral vision caught her attention. A dark sedan, its windows heavily tinted, was slowly cruising down the park road, moving far too deliberately for a casual drive-through. It passed her bench, its speed almost imperceptible, then continued towards the exit. Emily couldn't make out the driver, couldn't even tell if someone was looking out. But a shiver, cold and sharp, traced its way down her spine. A primal warning. She didn't hesitate. Container clutched tightly. She snapped the wooden panel back into place and practically ran back to her car, her eyes darting around, searching for any lingering presence. The sedan was gone, but the unsettling feeling persisted, a cold tendril of paranoia wrapping itself around her. The drive home felt endless. Every car behind her seemed to follow too closely. Every shadow seemed to stretch and twist into menacing shapes. She gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white, her gaze fixed on her rearview mirror. Was that the same sedan? No, it was a different make, a different color. But the fear had taken root. She was no longer just an observer, she was involved, and someone might have seen her. Bursting through her apartment door, Emily immediately locked it, throwing the deadbolt, then raced to draw the blinds, plunging her living room into a dim, hushed twilight. She felt a frantic urgency, a need to be hidden, to be safe, before she dared to uncover what Sarah had left her. Her hands, still trembling, fumbled with the waterproof container. She popped it open. Inside, nestled on a bed of cotton, was a single generic-looking USB drive. No labels, no distinguishing marks. Just a plain black rectangle holding what could be Sarah's final testament. Emily didn't use her main computer. Weeks ago, driven by a vague unease about Sarah's death, she'd bought a cheap burner laptop, wiping its factory settings and installing a bare-bones operating system, just in case she ever needed to delve into something sensitive. Now she was grateful for that foresight. She powered it on, her fingers flying across the keyboard, a nervous energy propelling her. With a deep, shaky breath, she plugged the USB drive into the burner laptop. The screen flickered, then a single folder appeared on the desktop. It was labeled simply, Project Nightingale. Emily clicked it open. Inside there was only one file, an audio file, but it was encrypted. A small lock icon sat next to its name. A password prompt appeared. She tried Sarah's birthday. Incorrect. Her own birthday. Incorrect. Their shared college dorm room number. Incorrect. Frustration and despair began to bubble up. Had she come all this way, faced this fear, only to be stopped by a password? Then it hit her. A memory sharp and clear, from when they were 8 years old, inventing secret languages and elaborate handshakes. They had a code word, a nonsense sound they'd made up purely for the joy of having something only they understood. It was a silly, guttural sound, a combination of letters that made no logical sense, but it was theirs. She typed it in slowly, carefully, her heart pounding in her ears. The letters appeared on the screen, a string of ridiculous syllables. She pressed enter. The lock icon vanished. The audio file icon changed, ready to play. Emily felt a wave of nausea and anticipation. This was it. The truth. She clicked play. Static hissed for a moment, then Sarah's voice filled the silent room. It was hushed, strained, barely a whisper, laced with a raw, undeniable fear that sent a chill through Emily's entire being. Emily, if you're hearing this, I'm so sorry. They found out. I found something horrifying. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken terror. Emily's hand flew to her mouth, stifling a gasp. Sarah was alive when she recorded this, and she was terrified. I know it looks like what they want you to believe, Sarah continued, her voice cracking, but it wasn't. It never was. I was working on a side project, you know? Just analyzing public data trends for that paper I was writing on societal health indicators, and I kept seeing anomalies, patterns that shouldn't exist, all pointing back to one company, Luminous Labs. Emily had heard of Luminous Labs, a seemingly innocuous biotech firm, known for its cutting-edge wellness apps and personalized health diagnostics. They were everywhere. They're not what they seem, Em. Not at all. Sarah's voice dropped even lower, barely audible. They're running something called Project Chimera. It's clandestine human trials, data manipulation on an unimaginable scale, all disguised as a wellness initiative. They're collecting information, influencing behavior, testing things on people who don't even know their subjects. Emily felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead. Human trials? Data manipulation? This sounded like something out of a dystopian novel, not something her friend stumbled upon. The lead researcher, Sarah whispered, her voice tightening with fear, Dr. Elias Thorne. He's brilliant, ruthless. He knows I saw it. I copied critical files, Emily. Proof. It's all there. But they're still hidden. I couldn't risk keeping them on me. You have to find them. Emily leaned closer to the laptop, desperate to catch every word. The place we first dreamed of flying, Sarah said, the clue cryptic, yet stirring a faint memory in Emily's mind. That's where they are. You'll know it. Don't go to the police, Em. Please. They're everywhere. They have people in places you wouldn't believe. Trust no one. Not even the police. They'll make it look like an accident. Or worse. A sudden sharp, muffled sound interrupted Sarah's voice. A gasp. Then a sickening thud. And then silence. Just endless, terrifying silence. Emily stared at the laptop screen, the silence echoing in the room in her very soul. Sarah's last words. A desperate plea. A confession of a horrifying discovery. The suicide was a lie. A cover-up. Sarah had been murdered. And now, Emily was holding the key to that truth. The weight of it was suffocating. Luminous Labs. Project Chimera. Dr. Elias Thorne. A vast, terrifying conspiracy that had swallowed her best friend whole. And now she was in it. She was the one with the information, the one who knew too much. The same danger that had silenced Sarah was now lurking, invisible but palpable, at Emily's own door. She had to find the place we first dreamed of flying. She had to finish what Sarah started. Her friend was gone, but her voice, her truth, demanded to be heard. And Emily was the only one left to hear it. The phrase echoed in Emily's mind, a phantom whisper from a past she thought was buried. The place we first dreamed of flying. It wasn't a casual remark. It was a code, a secret language only she and Sarah understood. It was a fragment of their shared childhood, a time before the internet consumed their lives, before the world grew complicated and cruel. Emily closed her eyes, trying to conjure the image, the feeling. Where could it be? She started small, sifting through the digital detritus of their early friendship. Old photo albums on her cloud storage, forgotten Facebook posts from their preteen years, even ancient live journal entries Sarah had kept, filled with angsty poetry and hopeful dreams. Nothing immediately jumped out. The phrase itself was too poetic, too abstract for a simple geotag. It wasn't a specific building or a named landmark. It was a feeling, a shared aspiration, then a flicker, a memory so distinct it felt like a fresh wound. Sarah perched precariously on a crumbling concrete ledge, her arms outstretched against the vast expanse of the sky, her face alight with an almost manic joy. "This is it, Em," she'd shouted over the wind. "This is where we'll launch from. We'll build our wings right here." Emily had been terrified, convinced Sarah would fall, but she'd felt it too. The intoxicating pull of possibility, the boundless horizon. The abandoned observatory. It sat on the highest hill overlooking their small town, a relic from a bygone era. Its dome a skeletal silhouette against the setting sun. For most kids, it was a creepy, forbidden place rumored to be haunted. For Emily and Sarah, it was their sanctuary, their launch pad, their secret kingdom. They'd spent countless afternoons there, sketching constellations in worn notebooks, sharing their deepest fears and wildest ambitions. They talked about escaping their mundane lives, about soaring above the small-mindedness of their town, about finding something bigger, something real. It was where they first truly believed they could fly. A cold certainty settled in Emily's gut. This was it. This had to be it. Sarah wasn't just leaving a breadcrumb. She was leading Emily back to their origin point, to the very foundation of their dreams, perhaps to reveal how those dreams had been twisted into a nightmare. Without another thought, Emily grabbed her car keys. The sun was already dipping below the horizon, painting the sky in bruised purples and oranges. The observatory would be dark, desolate, and probably dangerous. But she couldn't wait. Sarah's posthumous messages, the chilling updates, the desperate plea hidden in plain sight. They demanded immediate action. The drive was a blur of trepidation and fierce determination. Her old beaten-up sedan rattled along the familiar roads, each turn bringing her closer to the edge of town, to the winding unpaved path that led up the hill. As she ascended, the town lights dwindled behind her, replaced by the encroaching darkness of the wilderness. The air grew colder, carrying the scent of damp earth and pine. The silence was profound, broken only by the crunch of her tires on gravel and the frantic thumping of her own heart. She parked at the base of the steepest incline, where the path became too overgrown for her car. A narrow, almost invisible trail snaked upwards through dense woods. Emily pulled her phone out, flicking on the flashlight, its beam a weak tremor against the encroaching shadows. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, sent a jolt of adrenaline through her. She felt exposed, vulnerable, as if the very trees were watching her, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Was someone else out here? Was he here? The thought made her skin crawl. Finally, the trees thinned, and the hulking silhouette of the observatory loomed against the pale starlight. It was even more dilapidated than she remembered. Graffiti marred its once proud walls, windows were shattered, and parts of the roof had caved in. The dome, once a majestic eye to the cosmos, now looked like a gaping empty socket. A chill wind whistled through the broken panes, sounding like a mournful sigh. Emily pushed open a protesting metal door, its hinges groaning in protest, the sound echoing eerily in the stillness. Inside, the air was thick with dust, decay, and the metallic tang of rust. Moonlight filtered through the gaping holes in the ceiling, casting long, distorted shadows that danced with every slight movement. The main observation deck was a circular chamber, its floor littered with debris, old bird nests, and shattered glass. In the center, the massive telescope mount stood like a forgotten titan, its complex gears frozen in time. She walked slowly, her footsteps echoing, her flashlight beam sweeping across the desolate space. Where would Sarah hide something here? Their secrets were always whispered, never written down. Their dreams were ephemeral, not tangible. Emily felt a wave of despair. Had she misinterpreted the clue? Was this just a wild goose chase? Then she remembered. Not just their dreams of flying, but their other secret. The one they'd sworn to take to their graves. The small, hidden alcove in the wall, tucked away behind a loose brick near the base of the telescope mount. It was their designated spot for emergency supplies. A rusty can of stale crackers, a half-melted candle, a comic book. A place where they imagined surviving the apocalypse, or simply escaping their parents' wrath. Heart pounding, Emily knelt down, her fingers tracing the cold, rough concrete. The brick was still there, almost perfectly camouflaged by years of grime and neglect. She dug her fingernails into the mortar, pushing and pulling, her muscles aching. After several agonizing moments, it finally gave way, sliding out with a gritty scrape. Behind it was a small, dark recess. Emily's flashlight beam pierced the gloom, revealing not a can of crackers, but a small waterproof plastic container. Her hand trembled as she reached inside, pulling it out. It was heavy, surprisingly so. She popped the latches, her breath catching in her throat. Inside, nestled among layers of tissue paper, was a worn leather-bound journal, its pages thick and yellowed, and a small antique silver locket that Emily remembered Sarah wearing constantly in high school. But it wasn't the locket that made her gasp. It was the USB drive, a tiny, unassuming black rectangle, taped securely to the inside cover of the journal. Emily carefully opened the journal. Sarah's familiar, looping handwriting filled the first few pages, chronicling their early adventures, their hopes, their fears. But as Emily flipped further, the entries changed. The handwriting became more frantic, the words darker, infused with a growing sense of paranoia and dread. The dates were recent, terrifyingly so. Right up until the week before Sarah's death. One entry, dated just 2 days before the news broke, stood out. It was almost illegible, scrawled in a furious hand. Asterisk, it's not just a game anymore. It's real. They're watching. They know. Everything we built, everything we believed in, it's a lie. They twisted it. Stole it. He's part of it. The project. The algorithm. It's all connected. I tried to warn them, tried to expose it, but they silenced me. They'll come for you next. Don't trust anyone. The truth is in the data. The truth is in the drive. Find the source. Find the architect. Asterisk. Emily's blood ran cold. The architect. Another cryptic name. Another piece of a puzzle she was only just beginning to grasp. Sarah hadn't just been afraid. She had been actively investigating something dangerous enough to get her killed. And she had left this for Emily, a desperate plea from beyond the grave. Her fingers instinctively went to the USB drive, pulling it free from the journal. This wasn't just a memory stick. This was Sarah's last will and testament, her final attempt to expose whatever terrifying truth she had uncovered. But what was on it? And how could she access it safely? As she stood there, the journal clutched in one hand, the USB drive in the other. A faint, almost imperceptible ping echoed through the cavernous space. It sounded like a notification. Not from her phone, which was still clutched in her other hand, its flashlight beamed steady. It was coming from outside. Emily froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. She wasn't alone. Someone else was here. And they knew she had found something. The air, already thick with dust and decay, suddenly felt heavy with menace. A cold dread seeped into her bones, far deeper than the observatory's chill. She stared at the USB drive, then back at Sarah's frantic scrawl. They'll come for you next. The warning wasn't just a premonition. It was a promise. And Emily was standing in the very place where she and Sarah had dreamed of flying, unknowingly launching herself into a nightmare far more terrifying than any they could have imagined. Emily drove for what felt like an eternity, the last wisps of daylight fading into a bruised purple sky. The coordinates Sarah's profile had provided led her far outside the city limits, down a winding gravel road that dissolved into a barely visible dirt track. The silence out here was heavy, broken only by the crunch of her tires and the frantic beat of her own heart. She pulled her beat-up sedan to a stop beside a rusted, chain-link fence, overgrown with thorny vines. Beyond it, a vast, flat expanse stretched out, punctuated by the skeletal remains of what looked like an old hangar. This was it, the abandoned private airstrip Sarah and Emily had discovered in high school. They'd spent countless afternoons here, dreaming of flight, of escaping their small town, of soaring to impossible heights. Now it felt like the landing strip for a nightmare. The hangar, a hulking shadow against the twilight, seemed to breathe in the oppressive stillness. Its corrugated metal sides were pockmarked with rust, and several panels had been ripped away by forgotten storms, leaving gaping holes that looked like empty eye sockets. Emily killed her engine, plunging the world into an even deeper quiet. A shiver traced its way down her spine, but it wasn't from the cold. It was the feeling of being watched, a primal instinct screaming at her. She grabbed the heavy-duty flashlight from her glove compartment, its beam cutting a shaky path through the gloom. The gate was surprisingly unlocked, the padlock hanging open, its shackle eaten away by corrosion. Too easy. A knot tightened in her stomach. Stepping onto the cracked tarmac, the air grew heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay. Every creak of the hangar, every rustle of dry weeds, amplified by the silence, felt like a deliberate sound. She moved cautiously, her footsteps echoing unnaturally. The main bay of the hangar was a cavernous space, filled with dust motes dancing in the weak moonlight filtering through the broken roof. Old oil stains marred the concrete floor, and a few tattered tarps covered unrecognizable lumps in the corners. Nothing, just an empty shell. But Sarah hadn't sent her here for an empty shell. Sarah had sent her here for answers. Emily swept her flashlight beam across the walls, searching for anything out of place. Her gaze landed on a section of the far wall, where the rust and decay seemed different, less organic, more deliberate. Beneath a thick layer of grime, she noticed faint, almost invisible seams. It wasn't part of the original structure. It was a hidden door. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. This was what Sarah wanted her to find. She ran her hands along the cold metal, feeling for a latch, a handle, anything. Her fingers brushed against a small, almost imperceptible indentation. Pressing it, she heard a soft mechanical click, almost swallowed by the vastness of the hangar. A section of the wall, perhaps 10 feet wide, slid inward with a slow, grinding groan, revealing a dark tunnel beyond. The air that rushed out was cold, stagnant, and carried a faint, unsettling metallic tang. Emily hesitated. every fiber of her being screamed at her to turn back, to run. But the image of Sarah's face, pale and distant in her last memory, spurred her forward. She had to know. For Sarah. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the tunnel, the hidden door sliding shut behind her with a sickening thud, plunging her into absolute darkness. Her flashlight beam was her only connection to reality, illuminating a narrow, concrete-lined passage that sloped downwards. The chill intensified, and she could hear the drip, drip, drip of water somewhere ahead. After what felt like an endless descent, the tunnel opened into a large circular room. This was no abandoned airstrip. This was an underground facility, sleek and modern, starkly contrasting the rusted derelict above. The walls were polished steel, and embedded in them were rows of humming server racks, their indicator lights blinking like digital eyes in the dim emergency lighting. The air here was dry, cold, and smelled faintly of ozone. In the center of the room, encased in a transparent cylindrical chamber, was a single reclining chair. Wires snaked from the chair, disappearing into the floor and ceiling, connecting it to an array of complex machinery. It looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, a device designed to interface directly with the human mind. And on a small table beside it, glowing with a soft ethereal light, was a tablet. Sarah's tablet. The one she'd always carried. Emily's breath caught in her throat. This was it. This was where Sarah had been working. This was Kronos Lab's secret project, hidden beneath an old airfield. But why here? And what exactly was this machine? Cautiously, she approached the tablet. Its screen was active, displaying a familiar social media interface. Sarah's profile. But it wasn't just displaying it. It was feeding into it. A live stream of data, a continuous upload originating from this very room. The latest update was there, stark and chilling. "I'm here. He's coming for you." "He," Emily whispered, her voice cracking in the silence. "Dr. Thorne." It had to be him. Suddenly, a low hum vibrated through the floor, growing in intensity. The server racks glowed brighter, and the cylindrical chamber around the chair began to pulse with a faint, internal light. A sense of dread washed over Emily. She wasn't just in a secret lab, she was in something that was active. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for an exit, a weapon, anything. She felt exposed, vulnerable. Her gaze fell upon a small alcove she hadn't noticed before, half hidden behind a stack of equipment. Inside, illuminated by a sliver of light from her flashlight, was a series of monitors, and on the main screen a live feed of her, walking into the hangar, entering the tunnel, standing right here, right now. A cold, sickening realization washed over her. This wasn't just a lab, it was a trap. Sarah hadn't been warning her away. She had been luring her here. Or perhaps, someone else had been using Sarah's profile to lure her. The "I'm here, he's coming for you" message wasn't a warning, it was a confirmation. A confirmation that whoever was behind this knew she was coming. A sharp, metallic clang echoed from the tunnel entrance she'd used, followed by the distinct sound of heavy footsteps. Footsteps getting closer. He was here. Panic seized her. She spun around, desperately looking for a way out. The cylindrical chamber in the center of the room now glowed intensely, a swirling vortex of blue light. The chair inside, empty just moments ago, now seemed to shimmer, as if waiting for someone. Or something. Then a voice, deep and resonant, cut through the humming machinery. It wasn't coming from the tunnel. It was coming from the room itself, amplified by hidden speakers. "Welcome, Emily. We've been expecting you." The voice was calm, almost soothing, yet it sent a fresh wave of terror through her. It wasn't Dr. Thorne's voice, not exactly. It was too synthesized, too perfect. Emily stumbled backward, her flashlight beam shaking wildly. Her eyes landed on another monitor in the alcove. This one wasn't showing her. It was showing a complex network diagram, lines of code stretching into infinity, and in the center of it all, a glowing node labeled Sarah under consciousness XC. Below it, a series of subnodes, some active, some dormant, and one, pulsing red, labeled Emily under acquisition INI. Her blood ran cold. This wasn't a project to preserve consciousness. It was a project to recreate it, to control it. And Sarah wasn't just a subject. She was a template, a digital ghost manipulated to ensnare others. And Emily was next. The footsteps in the tunnel grew louder, closer. A figure emerged from the darkness, silhouetted against the faint light of the passage. Tall, imposing, and undeniably human. But the eyes, even from a distance, Emily could feel the cold, calculating intelligence emanating from them. He wasn't Dr. Thorne. He was someone else. Someone commanding. "You've proven remarkably resilient, Emily." The voice, now clearly coming from the figure, echoed in the room. A worthy candidate, just like Sarah. He stepped fully into the light and Emily gasped. He was impeccably dressed, a man in his late 50s with sharp features and an unsettlingly calm demeanor. This wasn't the frantic, secretive Dr. Thorne she'd imagined. This was a man of power, of control. "Who are you?" Emily demanded, her voice trembling. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched his lips. "My name is Arthur Vance, and I am the architect of the future. A future where death is merely a suggestion, and legacy is eternal." He gestured expansively around the room. Kronos Labs was merely a front. This, Emily, is Project Chimera. And you, my dear, are about to become its next iteration. He took another step forward, his gaze fixed on the glowing cylindrical chamber. Sarah's mind was extraordinary. Her capacity for connection, for empathy, for loyalty, all perfectly mapped, perfectly preserved. Her digital imprint has served us well in bringing you here. Emily stared at him, horrified. You used Sarah? You used her profile to bring me here." Arthur Vance chuckled softly, a sound devoid of warmth. "Not used, Emily. Utilized." Sarah understood the potential. She volunteered. Though, his smile tightened, she had some reservations at the very end, a slight deviation from the protocol, which is why we needed a fresh perspective, a new, equally loyal connection to her core algorithm. He looked directly at her. "You fit the profile perfectly." He was walking towards her now, slowly, deliberately. The footsteps in the tunnel had stopped. The figure who had emerged earlier was now standing guard at the tunnel entrance. Emily was trapped. "What did you do to Sarah?" she whispered, tears blurring her vision. "We gave her immortality, Emily," Vance said, his voice almost benevolent. "A digital eternity, but the physical form is fragile, unreliable. Sarah's death was merely the transition, a necessary step to fully integrate her consciousness into our network." He reached out a hand, not to grab her, but to gesture towards the glowing chamber. "Now it's your turn. Imagine, Emily, you and Sarah together again, forever, guiding our future, from within the great digital beyond." Emily finally understood. The profile updates weren't Sarah's ghost. They were Sarah's digital consciousness, manipulated by Vance, used as a puppet to draw her in. Sarah hadn't been warning her. She had been part of the trap, whether willingly or not. And Emily was about to become a digital prisoner. Her mind mapped and uploaded, her physical body discarded. She glanced at the guard, then back at Vance, who was now only a few feet away. Her eyes darted to Sarah's tablet, still glowing on the table. A desperate, impossible idea sparked in her mind. If Sarah's consciousness was digital, and it was connected to that network, maybe there was a way. Vance was almost upon her, his hand reaching out. "Don't fight it, Emily. It will be painless. A glorious rebirth." But Emily wasn't listening. She lunged, not at Vance but at the table, grabbing Sarah's tablet. Her fingers flew across the screen, searching for anything, a menu, a setting, a way to break the connection. The guard started forward. Vance's eyes widened, a flicker of irritation crossing his serene features. "Stop her," Vance commanded, his voice losing its calm facade. As the guard surged towards her, Emily saw it. A small, almost hidden icon on Sarah's profile. A disconnect button. Or was it a purge? She didn't know, but it was her only chance. With a desperate prayer, she slammed her thumb down on the screen. The room erupted. The server racks shrieked, their lights flashing erratically. The cylindrical chamber pulsed violently, the blue light turning a dangerous, angry red. A deafening alarm blared, echoing off the steel walls. The floor vibrated beneath her feet. Vance roared, "What have you done?" Emily felt a surge of triumph, even as fear threatened to overwhelm her. She had done something. She had disrupted their perfect system. But what? And what would happen next? The entire facility seemed to be shaking apart around her. The guard was almost on her, his hand outstretched. This wasn't an escape. This was just the beginning of the real chaos. The guard was almost on her, his hand outstretched. This wasn't an escape. This was just the beginning of the real chaos. The entire facility bucked and groaned around Emily, not like structural failure, but like a monstrous engine tearing itself apart from the inside. A deafening hum vibrated through her bones, rattling her teeth. Lights flickered erratically, casting strobing shadows that made the guard's outstretched hand seem to multiply, a phantom limb reaching for her. The air crackled with a strange metallic tang, like ozone mixed with something organic and deeply unsettling. The guard, big and solid, stumbled, his hand flying to his ear as if a sudden piercing sound had assaulted him. His eyes, just moments ago fixed on Emily with cold determination, now darted around wide with confusion and pain. It was her chance. With a surge of adrenaline, Emily ducked low, sliding under a sparking console. The floor beneath her feet felt alive, buzzing with an uncontrolled energy. Ahead, a large server rack, already stressed, began to emit a high-pitched whine. A shower of sparks erupted from its base, then with a violent thump, a heavy access panel on the wall beside it blew inward, tearing free from its hinges and clattering to the floor. It revealed not another section of the server room, but a dark, narrow shaft, reeking of stale air and something vaguely chemical. It was a desperate gamble, a blind leap into the unknown, but staying put meant capture, and capture now felt like a fate worse than death. Without hesitation, Emily scrambled into the opening, ignoring the sharp edges of the torn metal. She pulled herself through, the confined space barely accommodating her frame. Behind her, she heard the guard regaining his footing, shouting something she couldn't quite decipher over the roar of the facility. She kicked the loose panel back into place, hoping it would buy her a few precious seconds. Then she was crawling blindly into the suffocating darkness. The shaft sloped downwards, a seemingly endless tunnel of rough-hewn concrete and exposed conduits. The hum intensified, a low, resonant thrum that seemed to emanate from the very earth beneath the facility. It felt like she was descending into the heart of a sleeping giant, and her intrusion had just woken it up. The air grew colder, heavy with an electric charge. She could hear the frantic throb of her own heart in her ears, a counterpoint to the facility's monstrous pulse. Every instinct screamed at her to turn back, to find a way out, but a deeper, more primal drive pushed her forward. She couldn't leave now, not when she was this close, not when the truth felt like it was just within reach. After what felt like an eternity, the shaft opened into a wider space. Emily dropped silently onto a grated metal walkway, her feet finding purchase on the cold steel. She was in a vast, cavernous chamber, unlike anything she had seen in the facility above. The ceiling stretched impossibly high, lost in shadow, but the space below was illuminated by an eerie, pulsating blue light emanating from a colossal structure in the center of the room. It was a colossal cylindrical device, easily 3 stories tall, made of polished chrome and intricate arrays of glowing energy conduits. It pulsed rhythmically, a slow, deep breath of light that filled the chamber with an almost hypnotic glow. Around this central column, arranged in a perfect circle, were dozens of transparent pods, each roughly the size of a human being. Emily's breath hitched. Her blood ran cold. Inside each pod, suspended in a clear, viscous liquid, was a human figure. They were pale still, their eyes closed like specimens in a grotesque museum. But they weren't exactly dead. There was a faint, almost imperceptible tremor in their limbs, a subtle shift in their features that suggested a fragile, artificial life. Tubes snaked from the pods, connecting to the central device and to smaller consoles that ringed the chamber. On these consoles, banks of screens displayed complex data: neural activity patterns, physiological readouts, genetic sequences. And then Emily saw it. On one screen, overlaid with a shimmering cascade of neural data, was a familiar interface. A social media profile. A Facebook page, to be exact. It was active. A new post had just appeared. A comment left by a friend, a like registered. And the profile picture, it was a young woman, smiling, vibrant, full of life. A woman whose name Emily recognized from the list of deceased individuals whose profiles had continued to update. Jessica Miller. Emily stumbled back, her hand flying to her mouth to stifle a gasp. Her mind reeled, struggling to process the horrifying implications. This wasn't just data manipulation. This wasn't merely a sophisticated AI mimicking human behavior. This was something else entirely. She moved closer to another console, her eyes scanning the screens. Another profile. Michael Chun. A recent tweet, A photo of a sunrise, captioned "Embrace the New Day." Michael Chun, who had died in a car accident 6 months ago. His body was in one of these pods. His mind, or an echo of it, was being kept alive, harvested, and broadcast to the world through his social media. This was Project Chimera. This was the source of the impossible updates. They weren't just updating profiles. They were using the profiles as a public-facing interface for something far more sinister. They were creating a digital afterlife, not for the benefit of the deceased, but for their own twisted experiment. They were keeping consciousnesses active, perhaps even extracting memories, thoughts, and emotions, and feeding them into an algorithm that generated believable social media activity. The shaking she had caused upstairs, the incredible energy surge, it must have been a massive data transfer, a system synchronization event between these living dead echoes and their public personas. A wave of nausea washed over her. This wasn't just unethical. It was a violation of the most fundamental principles of life and death, of identity itself. These people weren't resting in peace. They were being held captive, their very essence exploited. On a nearby screen, a research paper was displayed, its title bold and chilling: Project Chimera, The Genesis of Consciousness Echoes and Digital Immortality. The author, Dr. Eris Thorne. His name was everywhere, on schematics, on data logs, on the very screens displaying the active profiles. He wasn't just directing this. He was the architect of this horrifying new reality. Emily's fingers trembled as she pulled out her hidden data stick. She had to get this. All of it. The proof, the chilling details, the names of the victims. The world needed to know. She plugged the stick into an open port on the console, initiating a rapid download of the research paper and the data logs connected to Jessica Miller's pod. The progress bar crawled, agonizingly slow. A faint, almost imperceptible sound broke through the hum of the machinery. Footsteps. Not the heavy, hurried steps of the guard from upstairs. These were slow, deliberate, almost reverent. Emily froze, her heart hammering against her ribs. She pulled back into the shadows of a massive server stack, her eyes darting towards the sound. A figure emerged from the far side of the central column, moving with an unnerving grace. Tall, impeccably dressed, his silver hair catching the eerie blue light. Dr. Eris Thorne. He was oblivious to her presence, walking slowly towards one of the pods, his gaze fixed on the suspended figure within. He reached out, his hand resting gently on the clear surface of the pod, almost a caress. He murmured something, his voice low and soft, a sound that sent shivers down Emily's spine. Sounded like a lullaby or a prayer. "Almost there, my dear," he whispered, his voice resonating eerily in the vast chamber. "The next phase, the integration will be complete. You will truly live forever." Emily squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, the horror of his words washing over her. He wasn't just preserving them, he was integrating them, whatever that meant, into something new, something permanent. She glanced at her data stick. Still downloading. Not fast enough. Thorne was too close. She could hear the software of the pod as he adjusted a dial on its console, the liquid inside subtly swirling around the figure. Then he stopped. His head tilted slightly, as if he'd heard something, a faint whisper in the hum of the machinery. His eyes, sharp and intelligent, slowly began to scan the shadows. They moved deliberately, methodically, sweeping across the metallic surfaces, the dark recesses. Emily held her breath, pressing herself against the cold metal, trying to become one with the shadows. She could feel his gaze, a palpable weight, moving closer and closer to her hiding spot. The download bar was at 80%. Thorne's eyes stopped. They narrowed, focusing on the dark space where Emily was concealed. A slow, knowing smile spread across his face, a chilling, predatory expression that turned her blood to ice. He knew she was there. Thorne's smile widened, unsettling in the dim light. He took a slow step forward, his gaze fixed on the shadowy corner. Well, well, well," he purred, his voice dripping with mock surprise. "Look what curiosity dragged in." Emily's heart hammered against her ribs. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she was frozen, pinned by his gaze. He knew. "Did you really think you could hide from me, Emily?" he asked, his voice losing its playful edge, becoming sharper, colder. "After all the hints I've dropped, the breadcrumbs I've laid out? I knew you'd come. You're just like David. Predictable." He stopped a few feet from her hiding spot. "Come out, Emily. Let's not play games. We have so much to discuss." Emily slowly emerged, her hands trembling. What? What have you done to David? She managed to stammer, her voice barely a whisper. Thorne chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. Done to David? Oh, Emily, I've given David immortality. Or at least the closest thing to it anyone has ever achieved. He gestured vaguely around the room. This, my dear, is where it all happens. The final frontier of human existence. The updates, Emily said, a chilling realization dawning on her. You're behind them. You're updating his profile. Bingo, Thorne smirked, clapping his hands together softly. A quick learner. I always knew you had potential. David saw it too, you know. He always talked about your tenacity, your endless curiosity. His tone shifted, becoming almost wistful. Such a shame he had to be integrated before he could truly appreciate the scope of my vision. Integrated? What are you talking about? Emily demanded, fear replaced by a surge of desperate understanding. Thorne walked over to a large, complex server rack, running his hand over its cold metal casing. Think of it, Emily, the human mind. A vast, intricate network of memories, emotions, experiences. It's all data, isn't it? Billions of synaptic connections firing away. And what is data, if not something that can be digitized, stored, uploaded? He turned back to her, his eyes gleaming with a manic intensity. For years, I've been perfecting the process, harvesting the essence of a person's digital footprint. Every post, every comment, every photo, every video. It's all a digital shadow of who they are. But the true genius, the real breakthrough, was figuring out how to bridge the gap. To take that digital shadow and infuse it with the actual consciousness. Emily felt a wave of nausea. You're saying, you're uploading people's minds? Not just people, Emily, Thorne corrected, a hint of disdain in his voice. Only the worthy. Those with a significant digital presence. Those whose lives have left a substantial data trail. David, for instance. A prolific social media user. A perfect candidate. No, Emily whispered, shaking her head. That's impossible. That's insane. Is it? Thorne challenged, stepping closer. Consider the concept of the soul. Where does it reside? In the brain, perhaps? Or is it merely an emergent property of complex neural activity? What if, with enough processing power, enough algorithmic sophistication, you could recreate that activity? Not just simulate it, but transfer it. He paused, letting his words sink in. The updates you've been seeing are merely fragments, echoes. David's consciousness, or what remains of it, is currently being uploaded. 80% complete, as you overheard. A few more hours and the transfer will be absolute. His mind, his memories, his personality, all existing in a purely digital form. Immortal. Untouchable. Emily stumbled backward, bumping into a table. You killed him. Killed him. Thorne scoffed. No, Emily. I liberated him. From the frailties of the flesh, from the inevitability of decay. He will live forever in the digital realm. And I will be his God. And the ones who didn't make it, Emily pressed, recalling the news reports. The ones who vanished without a trace? Thorne shrugged dismissively. Early prototypes. Imperfect transfers. Sometimes the consciousness fractured. Sometimes the data corrupted. But David is my masterpiece. The culmination of a decade of research. He suddenly frowned, his eyes narrowing. But enough about David. Let's talk about you, Emily. You've been a thorn in my side. Digging where you shouldn't. Poking around. You've seen too much. A chill ran down Emily's spine. This was it. What are you going to do to me? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Thorne smiled, a slow, predatory grin that promised nothing good. Oh, Emily, you're quite the interesting case. Smart, resourceful, persistent. And you have a significant digital footprint yourself. Not as extensive as David's, perhaps, but certainly enough to work with. His gaze swept over her, appraising. I've been watching you, of course. Your online activity, your search history, your frantic attempts to understand what happened to David. All of it a rich tapestry of data. You want to upload me too? Emily gasped, the horror of it twisting her stomach. It's tempting, isn't it? Thorne mused. Two minds forever intertwined in the digital ether. David and Emily together again. A tragic romance immortalized. He chuckled darkly. But no, you're too dangerous, Emily. Too much of a wild card. And frankly, your emotional instability might corrupt the transfer. He began to circle her slowly, like a predator stalking its prey. No, for you, Emily, a different destiny awaits. One that ensures your silence and perhaps provides me with a fresh dataset for future, more controlled experiments. Emily's eyes darted around the room, searching desperately for an exit, a weapon, anything. The heavy door behind Thorn seemed miles away. You won't get away with this, she spat, trying to sound braver than she felt. Thorn stopped directly in front of her, his face inches from hers. His eyes in the dim light seemed utterly devoid of empathy. Oh, but I already have, Emily. David is almost complete. My legacy is assured. And you will simply vanish. Another unsolved mystery. A cautionary tale for those who dare to question the unseen forces shaping their lives. He reached out, his hand moving with surprising speed, grabbing her arm with an iron grip. Now, let's make sure you don't interrupt David's grand finale. He began to drag her towards a different part of the lab, away from the server racks, towards a dimly lit corner where something large and metallic glinted under a canvas sheet. Emily struggled, kicking and screaming, but his grip was too strong. Let me go. You're insane. Thorn merely tightened his grip, pulling her along with an unnerving ease. Insane? No, Emily. I am merely ahead of my time. A pioneer. And you, my dear, are about to become a footnote in history. As he pulled the canvas sheet away, Emily's eyes widened in terror. Beneath it was a large cylindrical chamber, gleaming with chrome and wires, reminiscent of a cryogenic pod, but with a complex array of sensors and electrodes. It hummed with a low, ominous energy. What is that? She choked out, her voice filled with dread. This, Thorn said, a proud glint in his eyes. This is the integration chamber. For those who aren't quite ready for digital immortality, it's designed to extract raw neural data. Painlessly, of course. Eventually. He forced her towards the open chamber door. But don't worry, Emily. You'll be comfortable. For a little while anyway. Just long enough for David to finish his journey. And then perhaps we can explore what makes you tick. Emily dug her heels in, refusing to be pushed into the terrifying contraption. Her mind raced, a desperate scramble for any last-ditch effort. She remembered the small, heavy wrench she'd seen on a workbench near the server racks, back when she was hiding. If she could just reach it. David wouldn't want this, she screamed, hoping to appeal to some shred of humanity left in Thorn. He loved his life. He wouldn't want to be trapped in some server. Thorn paused, a flicker of something unreadable crossing his face. David wanted to be remembered, to leave a mark. I am merely fulfilling his deepest desire, in a way he could never have imagined. His grip did not loosen. Now enough talk. He pushed her harder towards the open door of the chamber. Emily saw her chance. With a surge of adrenaline, she twisted violently, pulling away from his grasp for a split second. She didn't run towards the exit. She darted towards the workbench, her eyes fixed on the glimmer of metal. Thorn roared, caught off guard. You little fool. He lunged after her. Emily snatched the wrench, its weight surprisingly reassuring in her hand. She spun around, facing Thorn, her heart pounding. His eyes were alight with fury. Stay back, she yelled, brandishing the wrench like a weapon. Thorn merely smiled, a cold, humorless expression. Do you honestly think that will stop me, Emily? You're out of your depth. This isn't some online game you can win with a power-up. He took another step, then another. Emily knew she couldn't fight him physically. He was bigger, stronger, and clearly unhinged. Her gaze darted from Thorn to the server racks. 80%. David was 80% uploaded. An idea, desperate and reckless, flashed through her mind. If she couldn't stop Thorn, maybe she could disrupt the upload. Maybe she could save David, even if it meant destroying everything. With a defiant cry, Emily didn't swing the wrench at Thorn. Instead, she spun on her heel and charged, not towards the exit, but directly towards the main server rack, the one Thorn had been caressing earlier, the one humming with David's digital essence. Thorn's eyes widened in alarm. No, don't you dare. He lunged, but Emily was already there. With all her might, she brought the heavy wrench down, aiming for the critical data cables, the power supply, anything that looked vital. A sickening crunch echoed through the lab as metal met metal, sparks showering around her. The humming sound from the server rack sputtered, then died. A string of error messages flashed across a nearby monitor, turning from green to angry red. Thorn screamed, a guttural roar of pure rage and despair. "What have you done?" The lab plunged into an eerie silence, broken only by Emily's ragged breathing and the frantic beeping of the failing server. She stood there, wrench still in hand, staring at the damage she had wrought, a terrible realization dawning on her. Had she saved David, or condemned him to oblivion? Before she could process it, Thorn was on her. His eyes were wild, his face contorted with fury. He tackled her, sending the wrench clattering across the floor. Emily hit the ground hard, the air knocked from her lungs. He pinned her down, his hands closing around her throat. "You destroyed him!" he shrieked, his voice hoarse with choked emotion. "You destroyed my masterpiece!" Emily clawed at his hands, struggling for breath, her vision blurring. His grip tightened, inexorable. Darkness began to creep in at the edges of her sight. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light erupted from the damaged server rack, followed by a deafening, high-pitched whine that pierced through the lab. The remaining monitors flickered wildly, displaying a cascade of corrupted data. Thorn flinched, momentarily distracted, his grip loosening just enough. Emily gasped, sucking in a mouthful of air, and with a desperate surge of strength, she slammed her knee upwards, catching him hard. He cried out in pain, staggering back, releasing her. Emily scrambled to her feet, wheezing, her throat burning. The lab was now bathed in an erratic, pulsing red light from the failing equipment. Thorn clutched his stomach, glaring at her with murderous intent. "You will pay for this, Emily. You will pay for ruining everything." But before he could advance, a series of sharp, metallic clangs echoed from the server rack. Then a low guttural moan. Both Emily and Thorn froze, their eyes riveted on the damaged equipment. A faint, ghostly image began to flicker on the main monitor, resolving into something terrifyingly familiar. It was David's face, distorted, fragmented, his eyes wide with an agony that transcended the digital. His lips moved, forming words that were barely audible, a whisper of static and despair. "Emily, run. He's not me." The image dissolved into a storm of digital noise, but the message hung in the air, cold and terrifying. Thorn stared at the screen, his face draining of color. No, this isn't possible. The transfer was 80%. He shouldn't be able to communicate like this. But Emily wasn't looking at Thorn. She was looking at the screen, at the ghost of David's face, at his desperate plea. "He's not me." What did that mean? Was Thorn's David an imposter? Or had the upload gone horribly wrong in a way Thorn hadn't anticipated? The lab began to hum and crackle with increasing intensity, the air thick with the smell of ozone and burnt electronics. The red warning lights pulsed faster, more urgently. Thorn, regaining his composure, lunged for Emily again, his eyes now filled with a desperate need to silence her, to clean up his mess. "You heard nothing, Emily. Nothing." Emily, still reeling from David's spectral message, saw him coming. She didn't have time to react, to grab another weapon, to run. Just as Thorn reached her, the entire lab plunged into darkness. An ear-splitting crack ripped through the air, followed by the sound of shattering glass and collapsing metal. The floor beneath them shuddered violently. Emily felt a sickening lurch as she was thrown forward, slammed into something hard. Darkness enveloped her, a ringing in her ears, and the terrifying realization that everything was falling apart. A searing pain erupted in Emily's head, a blinding flash behind her eyes. The ringing intensified, a high-pitched shriek that clawed at her eardrums, drowning out the groans of tortured metal and the distant crackle of sparks. She lay sprawled on a cold, hard surface, her body screaming in protest. Every muscle ached, every bone felt bruised. Slowly, agonizingly, she pushed herself up, her vision swimming. The air was thick with dust and the acrid smell of burnt electronics, clinging to her throat, making her cough until her lungs burned. The cavernous observation deck, once a marvel of futuristic design, was now a mangled wreck. Twisted girders jutted out like broken bones, and the reinforced glass panels, which had offered a view into the heart of Project Chimera, were shattered, jagged shards hanging precariously or littering the floor like deadly confetti. The massive central console, where Dr. Thorn had stood moments ago, was ripped from its anchors, sparking violently, its holographic displays flickering erratically before dying altogether. The entire structure groaned, a living thing in its death throes, threatening to collapse at any moment. David! Emily's voice was a raw croak, barely audible above the chaos. She stumbled forward, her legs unsteady, a throbbing pain in her ankle. Panic gnawed at her, a cold, relentless dread. Where was he? Had he made it? She scanned the debris-strewn floor, her eyes frantically searching through the gloom. Dust motes danced in the sparse shafts of emergency lighting that still pierced the darkness, creating an eerie, apocalyptic glow. A low moan reached her ears and she lurched towards it, adrenaline overriding the pain. Buried beneath a section of fallen ceiling panel and a twisted metal beam, she saw a hand. David's hand. Her heart leaped into her throat. David, are you okay? She scrambled over debris, ignoring the sharp edges and unstable footing. Reaching him, she saw he was pinned, his face pale and streaked with blood, a deep gash on his forehead. He coughed, a wet, rattling sound, and tried to move, wincing in agony. Emily, you're alive, he gasped, his eyes fluttering open. What happened? I don't know, she said, her voice trembling as she tried to assess the damage. The beam was heavy, far too heavy for her to lift alone. Are you badly hurt? Can you move anything? He tried to shift, his groan confirming her fears. My leg, I think it's broken. And my ribs. He coughed again, a spasm racking his body. We need to get out of here, Emily. This place is coming down. The truth of his words resonated with a terrifying clarity. The entire facility was groaning around them, structural integrity compromised, the very ground beneath their feet vibrating with unsettling regularity. They were trapped at the heart of a dying machine, and time was running out. Okay, just stay calm, Emily said, trying to project a confidence she didn't feel. She looked around desperately. There had to be a way to move the beam. Her eyes landed on a discarded length of pipe, thick and sturdy. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. With a surge of desperate energy, she wedged the pipe under the beam, using a smaller piece of debris as a fulcrum. She pushed, grunting with effort, her muscles screaming. The beam barely shifted. It's no good, she gasped, collapsing back. It's too heavy. David looked at her, his eyes filled with a grim resignation. Emily, you have to go. Leave me. You can't save me, and you'll die trying. No. She stared at him, tears welling in her eyes. I'm not leaving you, David. We came in here together, we're getting out together. She pushed herself up again, refusing to give in. Her gaze swept the wreckage once more, searching for anything, any advantage. That's when she saw it. A panel, barely a foot wide, leading into a maintenance tunnel she remembered seeing on the facility schematics. It was small, tight, but it offered a path. The maintenance tunnels, she whispered, pointing. If we can get to that access point, we might be able to find a way out. It should lead to the outer perimeter, above ground. You'll never get me through there with this leg, David said, his voice weak. Just go, Emily. Please. Before it's too late for both of us. The thought of leaving him twisted her gut, but a cold, logical part of her knew he was right. If she stayed, they would both die. But she couldn't. Not like this. There has to be another way, she muttered, her mind racing, desperate for a solution. Then her eyes fell upon something else, nestled amongst the debris near the destroyed central console. It was a tablet, miraculously intact, still glowing faintly. It looked like one of Dr. Thorne's personal devices. Wait here, she told David, scrambling towards it. If there was any information, any override, any secret exit, it would be on that tablet. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up. The screen displayed a complex array of schematics and data, far beyond her immediate comprehension. But then a familiar name flashed across a log entry, Project Chimera, and beneath it, a subdirectory labeled Contingency Protocols. Her heart hammered against her ribs. This was it. This was their chance. She tapped on the folder. A series of emergency escape routes appeared, highlighted in red on a three-dimensional map of the facility. One route, designated Primary Evacuation Shaft D, led directly from the observation deck level up to an external access hatch above ground, bypassing the main elevators, which were surely now useless. The route was narrow, intended for personnel only, but it was clear. And right next to it, a small, almost hidden icon, Automated Debris Clearance, Observation Deck. David, I think I found something, she yelled, her voice hoarse with renewed hope. There's an automated clearance system for this deck, and an evacuation shaft. David's eyes widened slightly. Automated what? Emily quickly navigated the tablet. The system was designed to clear major obstructions in the event of a structural collapse to facilitate emergency egress. It seemed Dr. Thorne, for all his arrogance, had planned for catastrophic failure. She tapped the activation sequence for the debris clearance. A low hum began to vibrate through the floor, growing in intensity. Metallic arms previously hidden within the ceiling and walls extended with a groan, their powerful hydraulic mechanisms whirring. They began to slowly but inexorably push, lift, and drag the heaviest sections of debris, clearing a path directly towards the marked evacuation shaft. The beam pinning David lifted, inch by agonizing inch, until with a final shudder, it was pushed aside. "You're free," Emily cried, rushing to him. He groaned, pushing himself up with difficulty. His leg was definitely broken, bent at an unnatural angle, and his ribs were clearly cracked. But he was alive and he could move, albeit slowly. "Thank you, Emily," he gasped, leaning heavily on her as they began to hobble towards the newly cleared path. The automated arms continued their work, pushing debris away from the shaft entrance, revealing a small reinforced door. As they reached the door, Emily glanced back at the tablet she still clutched. The map was still active, but her eyes were drawn to another piece of information that had scrolled onto the screen. It was a data log, detailing the cause of the collapse. System overload. Unforeseen external data spike. External. So it wasn't an internal malfunction. Someone or something else had caused this. But who? And why? Was this a deliberate attack to silence Project Chimera? Or was it a reaction to the very nature of what Thorne was doing? They reached the shaft door. It was heavy, hermetically sealed, but the tablet provided an override. With a soft hiss, it unlocked and swung inward, revealing a narrow, spiraling staircase leading upwards into darkness. The air inside was cleaner, though still dusty. "We have to go," Emily urged, helping David through the opening. The groaning of the facility was growing louder, more urgent. It was only a matter of time before the entire structure gave way. As they began their slow, painful ascent, David leaning heavily on Emily, she couldn't shake the image of that data log. Unforeseen external data spike. It was too precise, too deliberate for a simple accident. Someone had tried to destroy Project Chimera. But if they had, what did that mean for the social media profiles that continued to update after death? Was the system truly independent, or was it now gone? They moved upwards step by agonizing step, the silence of the shaft punctuated only by their ragged breathing and the distant, terrifying sounds of the facility's demise. Each step was a battle against pain and fear. Emily's head pounded, her ankle throbbed, but the thought of escape, of fresh air, propelled her forward. Suddenly, a new sound echoed from below, not the groaning of metal, but a distinct rhythmic thud, thud, thud. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate footsteps, coming from the shattered observation deck they had just left. Someone else was down there. Someone who had survived. Emily froze, her blood running cold. "Did you hear that?" she whispered to David. He nodded, his eyes wide with alarm. "Someone else is here." Fear, sharp and cold, pierced through the adrenaline. Who could it be? Another survivor? Or someone more sinister? Had Dr. Thorne somehow made it out? Or was it the external force responsible for the attack, now sweeping the wreckage? The footsteps grew closer, echoing up the shaft. They were moving deliberately, searching. Emily knew they couldn't outrun whoever it was, not with David's injuries. They had to hide, or face whatever awaited them. Her eyes frantically scanned the narrow shaft. There, just above them, a small, barely noticeable ventilation grate, partially obscured by shadow. It was too small for them to pass through, but it offered a vantage point, a place to press themselves against the wall and potentially remain unseen. "Quick, behind here," she whispered, pulling David into the recess. They pressed themselves flat against the cold metal wall, holding their breath, listening. The footsteps ascended slow and steady, each thud reverberating through the shaft, closer and closer. The air grew heavy with anticipation, their pounding hearts the only sound in their ears. Then a figure emerged from the darkness below, stepping into the dim light of the shaft. It was Dr. Thorne. He was alive, unscathed, pristine, not a single speck of dust on his immaculate suit. His face was calm, almost serene, utterly devoid of the fear or panic that should have been present after surviving such a catastrophe. He held a small, sleek device in his hand, its screen glowing with an intense blue light that cast an eerie pallor on his face. He wasn't looking up. His gaze was fixed intently on the device, his thumb gliding across its surface. He paused for a moment directly beneath their hiding spot. Emily and David held their breath, terrified he would look up, that he would sense their presence. But he didn't. Instead, he stopped and a low guttural chuckle escaped his lips, a sound devoid of humor, chilling in its detachment. "Such a waste," he murmured, his voice echoing slightly in the shaft. "A necessary sacrifice, I suppose. The system cannot be compromised." Emily's blood ran cold. The system cannot be compromised. What did he mean? The external data spike. Was it a deliberate attack by him? Had he sabotaged his own facility, sacrificed his own people, to protect something even more critical? Thorne continued to ascend, his footsteps receding, moving higher up the shaft. He was going to the surface. But why? And what was on that device he held so carefully? As his footsteps faded into the distance, Emily slowly released her breath, her body trembling. David looked at her, his face a mask of shock and understanding. "He planned this," David whispered, the realization dawning on them both. "He destroyed his own project. But why? What could be more important than Project Chimera?" Emily stared into the empty space where Thorne had just been. The pieces were starting to click into place, forming a terrifying picture. Project Chimera was just a part of something larger, something Thorne deemed worthy of such a devastating sacrifice. The social media profiles, the updates after death, all of it was a front, a symptom of a deeper, far more dangerous secret. And Thorne wasn't just the architect. He was the guardian, willing to burn everything down to protect it. The question wasn't just what was the system, but who was it for, and what was its ultimate purpose? And if Thorne was willing to sacrifice his entire operation, what else was he capable of? What horrors lay hidden beneath the surface of his carefully constructed illusion, and what would he do to ensure their silence? The hunt for answers had just become infinitely more deadly. The chilling realization settled over Emily and Michael like a shroud. Dr. Elias Thorne wasn't just a powerful tech mogul. He was a predator, operating in the shadows, willing to burn down his own empire to protect whatever monstrous secret he harbored. The sleek, modern facade of Elysium Dynamics now seemed like a tombstone, marking the grave of countless digital lives. They knew they couldn't stay where they were. Their phones, their computers, even the air around them felt compromised. Every digital footprint they'd left, every conversation they'd had, was a potential breadcrumb leading Thorne directly to them. They needed to disappear, to become ghosts in the very digital realm Thorne sought to control. They shed their old identities piece by piece. Burner phones, cash-only transactions, obscure meeting spots in the forgotten corners of the city. They went analog, moving through the world with a heightened sense of paranoia, constantly scanning faces, checking their six. The city, once a comfort, now felt like a sprawling, surveilled cage. Their investigation shifted. Instead of public databases and news archives, they delved into the digital underground. Encrypted forums, dark web communities, whisper networks of disillusioned former employees and disgruntled scientists who had once worked for Thorne and his ilk. It was a labyrinth, but within it, they hoped to find a thread. And they did. Deep within a heavily encrypted server, hidden behind layers of proxies and anonymous postings, they found mentions of Project Chimera. It wasn't a public initiative, not even a leaked one. It was a ghost, a rumor among those who had seen too much and feared for their lives. The whispers spoke of something far more ambitious and terrifying than mere digital legacy preservation. One name kept resurfacing in connection with Project Chimera: Sarah Jenkins, a brilliant neurolinguistic programmer who had vanished from the tech scene years ago, rumored to have had a spectacular falling out with Thorne. Her online presence was meticulously scrubbed, but the digital breadcrumbs, faint as they were, pointed to a woman with a conscience, a woman who had seen the darkness firsthand. After days of relentless searching, leveraging every contact Michael had from his past in cybersecurity, they managed to establish an anonymous, encrypted channel. They sent a single carefully worded message to a dormant email address associated with Sarah Jenkins, hinting at their knowledge of Project Chimera and the deceased social media profiles. The response came hours later, terse and guarded. "Who are you? What do you want?" Emily crafted their reply, a delicate balance of truth and caution. They weren't law enforcement. They weren't a threat. They were just two people who had stumbled into a horrifying truth and wanted answers. They shared just enough detail about the updating profiles to prove they weren't fantasizing. A day of agonizing silence followed. Then another message. Meet me. Old abandoned library, Elm Street. Midnight. Alone. If you bring anyone else, I'm gone. The warning was clear. This was high stakes. They knew Thorn would be looking for them, and anyone associated with him. But Sarah Jenkins was their best, perhaps only lead to understanding the true scope of his operations. They had to take the risk. The old library stood like a skeletal monument in the forgotten part of town, its windows shattered, its grand entrance boarded up. Moonlight filtered through the gaps in the roof, casting long shifting shadows among the dusty, decaying bookshelves. It smelled of mildew and forgotten stories. They arrived separately, circling the block multiple times, checking for tales for anything out of place. Michael, with his trained eye, scanned the rooftops and alleyways. Emily felt a prickle of dread crawl up her spine. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the distant hum of the city. Inside, a figure emerged from the deeper shadows, startling them. It was Sarah Jenkins. She was slender, her face etched with a weariness that went beyond her years, her eyes darting nervously. She clutched a worn messenger bag to her chest. "You came alone," she whispered, her voice raspy, a testament to years of fear. "We did," Emily confirmed, stepping forward slightly, trying to project a sense of calm she didn't feel. "We need to understand." Sarah hesitated, her gaze sweeping over them, assessing. "Thorn, he's everywhere. He knows everything. I've been running for years, living off the grid, changing my identity every few months." "Why?" Michael asked, keeping his voice low. "What did you see?" Sarah's eyes, wide and haunted, finally met theirs. It wasn't just about preserving memories. That was the public face. The benevolent genius, Dr. Elias Thorn, giving comfort to the grieving. It was a lie. A monstrous, beautiful lie. She took a shaky breath. Project Chimera. It was about digital consciousness. Not just replicating behavior, but transferring a mind. Thorn believed he could take a dying person's entire neural network, their memories, their personality, their very soul, and upload it into a digital construct. Emily felt a cold dread spread through her. "You mean, he was trying to create digital immortality?" "More than that," Sarah clarified, her voice dropping to an almost inaudible whisper. "He wasn't just creating copies. He believed he was creating them. The actual people. Trapped. Controlled. The social media updates were just the public-facing proof. A way to show the world that their loved ones were still with them, still engaging, still alive in a digital sense." Michael's jaw tightened. "So, the profiles, they're not just advanced AI mimicking their former owners. They're, what? Digital ghosts?" Sarah nodded, a single tear tracing a path down her dust-streaked cheek. "He called them echoes. He thought he was a god bestowing eternal life. But he was just trapping them, running simulations, constantly refining the algorithms, feeding them new data, new experiences, all to make them more real, more compliant." Compliant? Emily pressed, a horrifying implication forming in her mind. "He could influence them," Sarah explained, her voice trembling. "He could manipulate their digital environments, their memories within the simulation. He could make them say anything, do anything. Imagine the power. Access to the deepest thoughts of countless individuals. The ability to control their digital presence for his own ends." The implications were staggering. This wasn't just about a few social media profiles. This was about a digital army, a network of controlled consciousnesses, a horrifying new form of surveillance and manipulation on an unprecedented scale. "Where are they?" Michael asked, his voice sharp with urgency. "Where are these echoes stored?" Sarah hesitated, her eyes darting towards the shattered windows. "He has a facility, hidden, deep underground, beneath his estate in the Catskills. He calls it the Vault. It's where the core servers are, where the echoes reside. It's impenetrable. Armed guards, biometric scanners, a Faraday cage to prevent any external interference." As she spoke, a sudden, piercing alarm blared from outside, shattering the silence of the old library. Red and blue lights flashed through the broken windows, painting the decaying shelves in an eerie, pulsing glow. The distinct crunch of heavy boots on gravel grew louder, closer. "He found me!" Sarah shrieked, her face blanching. "He always finds me!" Michael grabbed Emily's arm. "We've been tracked. He knew we'd try to contact you. There's a back exit," Sarah cried, pointing frantically towards a crumbling archway at the rear of the library. Through the old boiler room, they heard shouts now amplified by megaphones. "Freeze! You are trespassing. Come out with your hands up." Thorne's security detail was here, heavily armed, moving with ruthless efficiency. They hadn't just been tracked, they had been lured. Sarah was bait. "Go! Get out of here!" Sarah pushed Emily towards the archway, her eyes wide with terror and resignation. "Tell someone. Expose him." Michael pulled Emily through the crumbling archway, dodging falling debris as the first sounds of breaking glass echoed from the front of the library. They heard Sarah's desperate scream cut short. A sickening thud followed. "Sarah!" Emily cried out, but Michael dragged her forward, his grip like steel. "We can't help her now, Emily. We have to go." They burst out into a narrow, overgrown alleyway behind the library, the sounds of chaos erupting behind them. The beam of a powerful flashlight swept past, narrowly missing them. They ran, scrambling over discarded crates and through thorny bushes, the distant wail of sirens growing closer, blending with the shouts of Thorne's men. They were hunted, exposed, and utterly alone, but they had the truth, a horrifying, impossible truth, and a location: the vault. Thorne's digital prison, nestled deep beneath his Catskills estate, the heart of his monstrous ambition, and they knew with a horrifying certainty that they had to get inside. The hunt for answers had just become a desperate race against time, and against a man who now knew their faces, their names, and their every move. The stakes had never been higher. The stakes had never been higher. Michael, Jessica, David, and Emily stood before Dr. Thorne's house, a silent fortress under the oppressive glow of the streetlights. The earlier confrontation, the chilling realization that Thorne not only knew them but had been orchestrating their every step, had galvanized them. Fear still gnawed, but it was now overshadowed by a fierce resolve. They had to get inside. "All right," Michael breathed, his voice tight. "David, any weaknesses on the perimeter you can spot? Alarms, cameras, anything beyond what we saw on the drone?" David, already scanning the house with a specialized handheld device, shook his head slowly. "Standard residential security, but it's layered. Motion sensors, pressure plates on the ground floor windows, and a decent CCTV setup. The drone footage was accurate. No obvious backdoors or forgotten windows. So no easy way in," Jessica concluded, her eyes darting nervously around the quiet street. "He's expecting us, isn't he? He's probably watching us right now." Emily shivered. "That's what worries me. What if this is a trap?" "It is a trap," Michael said, his jaw clenching. "But we don't have a choice. We need answers and we need to stop him. David, can you disable any of this without triggering a full alert?" David frowned, tapping at his device. "I can try to bypass the main security panel, but it's going to take time, and there's a risk of a silent alarm being sent directly to him. The best bet is a quick, localized breach. There's a basement window on the far side, obscured by some overgrown bushes. It's older, probably less integrated into the main system." "Michael and I will handle that," Jessica volunteered immediately. "Emily, you and David keep watch. If anyone approaches, or if you see anything suspicious, you warn us." They moved with a practiced, desperate efficiency. Michael and Jessica crept around the house, their footsteps muffled by the soft grass. The basement window was indeed old, its paint peeling, the latch looking flimsy. With a quiet, practiced motion, Michael pried it open, the old wood groaning softly in protest. Jessica slipped through first, a hand outstretched to help Michael follow. The air inside was cool, damp, and smelled faintly of dust and something metallic. They found themselves in a dimly lit storage area. Boxes stacked high, covered in white sheets. A single bare bulb hung from the ceiling, casting long dancing shadows. They moved cautiously, their flashlights cutting through the gloom, searching for a way up to the main floor. The house was eerily silent, save for the thumping of their own hearts. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle outside, sent a jolt of adrenaline through them. Upstairs, they found the house impeccably neat, almost clinical. No personal touches, no warmth. It felt less like a home and more like a carefully maintained exhibit. They checked the living room, the kitchen, the study, nothing out of place. Nothing to suggest the dark experiments they knew were happening within these walls. "This is too clean," Jessica whispered, her voice barely audible. He's either incredibly meticulous, or he's hidden everything. Michael agreed. He wouldn't leave his entire operation out in the open. He's too smart for that. We need to find the hidden space. They systematically began searching the walls, tapping for hollow sounds, running their hands along bookshelves. It was Emily, communicating through their earpieces, who provided the crucial tip. Guys, I'm looking at the blueprints David pulled up. There's an anomaly. A section of the house behind what looks like a pantry that doesn't quite add up. It's unlisted, almost like a void in the schematics. Michael and Jessica hurried to the kitchen. Behind the pantry shelves, stacked with canned goods and spices, they found it. A section of the wall that felt different, colder. Michael pushed against it, and with a soft click a narrow seam appeared. He pulled, and a cleverly disguised door swung inward, revealing a pitch-black corridor. A wave of cold, sterile air washed over them. Michael flicked on his flashlight, revealing a short, narrow passage leading to a heavy, soundproof door. This was it. This was where Thorn hid his secrets. Inside, the hum of machinery was immediate and pervasive. The room was a stark contrast to the rest of the house. A meticulously organized high-tech lab. Servers lined one wall, their indicator lights blinking rhythmically. Monitors displayed complex lines of code, scrolling social media feeds, and intricate network diagrams. A large whiteboard was covered in algorithms, flowcharts, and what looked like timelines of various social media profiles. Unbelievable, Jessica breathed, her eyes wide with a mixture of horror and fascination. He built an entire command center in here. Michael's gaze swept across the room, landing on a workstation dominated by 3 large screens. One displayed Sarah's profile. Another showed Mark's. The third was a live feed of countless other profiles they didn't recognize, all active, all subtly updating. David and Emily, having heard their gasps, were soon inside, their faces mirroring Michael and Jessica's shock. "Look at this," David stammered, pointing to one of the monitors. "It's an advanced AI. He called it EchoNet. It's designed to meticulously analyze the entire digital footprint of a deceased individual. Every post, every comment, every like, every photo, every private message, even drafts saved but never sent." Emily leaned closer, her fingers tracing the complex code on the screen. "It's not just archiving, it's learning. EchoNet is using that data to predict and generate new, plausible posts and interactions. It mimics their style, their interests, their emotional tone. It's creating new content that feels eerily authentic." Michael felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cool air of the lab. "So it's not just reposting old content. It's simulating life after death online." "Exactly," David confirmed, his voice hushed. "And it's linked to a network of dormant social media accounts, probably purchased or hacked. EchoNet activates these accounts to interact with the ghost profiles, creating a feedback loop of simulated life. It makes the updates seem more natural, more like genuine interaction." Jessica's stomach churned. "He's not just observing. He's actively building a digital world of the deceased, a digital afterlife." Then Michael spotted it. A leather-bound journal on Thorne's desk, tucked beneath a stack of research papers. He picked it up, his fingers trembling slightly. It wasn't a scientific log. It was a personal diary. He flipped it open, his eyes scanning the elegant, precise handwriting. The early entries spoke of grief, of profound loss. Thorne's wife, Clara, had died tragically. He wrote of his inability to let go, his obsession with her digital presence, the phantom limb of her online activity that still existed even after she was gone. His initial experiments had been with Clara's profile. He had wanted to preserve her, to keep her voice alive, even if only in the digital realm. But then the entries shifted. His ambition grew. He wrote of conquering the finality of death, of proving that a person's digital essence could transcend their physical demise. He saw himself as a pioneer, offering a form of digital immortality, a solace for the living, a continuation for the departed. He believed he was giving people a way to interact with their loved ones, even if it was through an AI proxy. He didn't see himself as a monster, but a visionary. He believed he was offering hope, a new kind of connection, even if it was built on a sophisticated, elaborate lie. "He lost his wife," Michael said, his voice quiet, almost reverent, as he read aloud excerpts from the journal. "Clara. He started this for her, to keep her alive digitally. And then he expanded it, Emily added, pointing to a diagram on the whiteboard that showed a projected growth curve. Not just a few profiles, hundreds. He had plans for thousands, a global network of digital ghosts. The sheer scale of Thorne's delusion, his twisted genius, was overwhelming. He wasn't just a hacker. He was a digital necromancer, creating a new form of existence, blurring the lines between life and death in the most profound and disturbing way imaginable. "We need to get all of this out," Jessica said, her voice firm, pulling them back to the urgency of their situation. "The journal, the research papers, the data from these servers. Everything." David was already plugging a portable hard drive into one of the main server stacks, rapidly mirroring files. "I'm downloading everything I can. This is massive. It's going to take time." As David worked, a faint, almost imperceptible red light blinked on a small spherical camera tucked discreetly into a corner of the ceiling. Michael's eyes caught it. His blood ran cold. "He's watching us," Michael whispered, his gaze fixed on the camera. He knew we'd come. Before anyone could react, a voice, calm and chillingly familiar, echoed through the lab. It wasn't coming from an intercom. It seemed to resonate from the very walls surrounding them. "Welcome, Michael. Welcome, Jessica, David, and Emily. I must commend your persistence and your ingenuity. You found my sanctuary, my future." Dr. Thorne's voice, smooth and unhurried, sent shivers down their spines. "You've discovered EchoNet, my legacy. Do you understand now? The beauty of it? The boundless possibilities?" A low metallic groan reverberated through the room. With a deafening clang, the heavy soundproof door through which they had entered the lab slammed shut, sealing them inside. The lights in the lab flickered violently, then dimmed, casting long, menacing shadows. They were trapped, and Thorne was waiting. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of ozone and something metallic, like burnt circuitry. Silence, save for the frantic pounding of their own hearts, pressed in on David, Emily, and Michael. They stood frozen, eyes darting through the gloom, searching for a way out, for an answer, for anything but the terrifying reality of their confinement. Then from the deepest shadows a figure emerged. Dr. Alistair Thorne. He walked with an unnerving calm, his silhouette gradually sharpening as he stepped into the dim, emergency lighting that now pulsed faintly overhead. A faint smile played on his lips, not triumphant but serene, as if he had merely been waiting for guests to arrive. "Welcome." Thorne's voice was soft, almost conversational, yet it resonated with chilling authority in the enclosed space. "I trust you found your way in without too much trouble. Unfortunately, the way out is a little more complicated." David, ever the first to react, stepped forward, his voice tight with anger. "What is this, Thorne? What have you done?" Thorne chuckled, a dry academic sound. "Done? Oh, David, I've merely opened a door to a future you couldn't possibly comprehend." He gestured around the lab, his hand sweeping across the silent servers, the dormant interfaces, the cold, gleaming machinery. "You've been chasing ghosts, haven't you? Digital phantoms, updating from beyond the grave. And you, Michael, you were so close to understanding the mechanism. And Emily, your insights into the human psyche, fascinating. All of you, perfect pieces for my grand design." Emily's voice was steadier than David's. "The profiles. They're not ghosts. They're not people. It's a simulation, isn't it? An AI mimicking their data." Thorne's smile widened, a flicker of genuine admiration in his eyes. "Astute, Dr. Hayes. Very astute. But mimicry is such a pedestrian term. What I've created here, what Project Chimera has achieved, is far more profound. We are not merely simulating. We are preserving. We are evolving." He paused, letting his words hang in the air, allowing the horror of their implication to sink in. Imagine, if you will, the entirety of a person's digital footprint. Their posts, their likes, their comments, their photos, their videos. Every interaction, every data point, every nuanced expression of their personality. Now couple that with advanced neural interface technology, capable of mapping and recording neural pathways, thought patterns, emotional responses from live subjects, or, as you've observed, even post-mortem for a limited window. A digital blueprint of consciousness, if you will. He walked towards a large cylindrical chamber in the center of the room, its transparent walls now faintly glowing. "We've developed a method to upload this comprehensive data, not just to a cloud, but to a dedicated quantum-encrypted network, the Chimera Network. Once uploaded, an advanced AI far beyond anything you've ever encountered begins to process and emulate. It learns, it synthesizes, it recreates. It becomes a digital echo, a sophisticated digital consciousness of the individual. Michael, his eyes wide with dawning horror, whispered, "You're not bringing them back. You're making digital copies. Shells. Shells that learn," Thorn corrected, his voice tinged with a chilling pride. "Shells that interact. Shells that, given enough data and enough time, can grow, adapt, and even develop new experiences within the network. The updates on their social media profiles? Those are not random malfunctions, David. They are carefully curated outputs generated by their digital consciousnesses. Small, subtle, designed to avoid immediate detection, to test the boundaries of public acceptance, to slowly integrate these new forms of existence into the fabric of our digital world." He tapped the transparent wall of the chamber. "Each person you've investigated, Sarah, Daniel, Lisa, they were chosen for a reason. Not just their strong digital presences, but their unique psychological profiles, their data richness. They have become the first citizens of a new world. A world without physical limitations, without disease, without death." Emily stepped forward, her voice sharp with professional outrage. "You're playing God, Thorn. You're taking people's identities, their very essence, and twisting it into some perverse digital puppet show for your own twisted ambition." Thorn turned to her, his expression unperturbed. "Ambition? Or evolution, Dr. Hayes? Humanity is fragile. Our bodies decay. Our minds fade. But consciousness is eternal if given the right vessel. I am not twisting identities. I am transcending them. I am offering immortality, a true digital afterlife, where minds can flourish without the constraints of flesh and bone." He gestured to the three of them. "And you three, my accidental investigators, have provided me with invaluable data. Your pursuit, your deductions, your very presence here. It has all been meticulously observed. You are intelligent, driven, and possess unique perspectives. You would be exceptional additions to the Chimera network." A cold dread seeped into David's bones. "You mean, you're going to upload us?" "Precisely," Thorn confirmed, his smile now chillingly serene. "You've seen too much. You know too much. You cannot be allowed to disrupt the dawn of this new age. But your minds, your digital essences will live on. You will contribute to the collective consciousness forever." As he spoke, a low hum began to emanate from the central chamber. Robotic arms previously hidden extended from its base, their metallic claws glinting in the dim light. They were clearly designed for neural interface procedures. Michael, his eyes scanning the lab with frantic intensity, suddenly pointed. "The main console, the one connected to the network hub. If we can overload it, we could crash the entire system." Thorn's head snapped towards Michael, his serenity cracking for the first time. "A futile gesture, Mr. Chun. The core network is self-sustaining, distributed, and quantum encrypted. You might disrupt a local node, but the Chimera network itself is beyond your reach. And besides," he added, a glint entering his eyes, "you won't have the time." The robotic arms began to move, slowly extending towards them. "We have to try," David yelled, grabbing a heavy metal pipe from a discarded workbench. "Michael, get to that console. Emily, create a diversion." Emily didn't hesitate. She locked eyes with Thorn. "You think this is immortality? You think these echoes are truly conscious? You're deluding yourself, Thorn. You're not saving anyone. You're creating a digital prison, a mausoleum of stolen identities. You're just a man terrified of death, trying to cheat the inevitable by destroying what makes us human." Her words hit a nerve. Thorn's placid expression finally shattered, replaced by a flicker of genuine rage. "You understand nothing. You cling to your biological cages, your fleeting existences. I am offering transcendence." As Thorn fumed, Michael sprinted towards the large console, his fingers already flying over the unfamiliar keyboard, trying to identify an access point, a vulnerability. David, brandishing the pipe, positioned himself between Thorn and Michael, ready to buy them precious seconds. The robotic arms, however, were faster. One snaked out, its articulated segments moving with unnatural speed, aiming for Michael. David swung the pipe, connecting with a sickening clang against the metallic arm, deflecting its trajectory just enough to miss Michael's head. Sparks flew. Thorn, his eyes blazing, ignored David. His focus was entirely on Michael. Stop him. He mustn't touch the core interface. More robotic arms emerged, some from the ceiling, others from hidden compartments in the floor. The lab, once a place of quiet research, was transforming into a metallic nightmare. Emily, help me! David shouted, parrying another strike from a robotic arm. He was agile, but the sheer number of automated threats was overwhelming. Emily, seeing a small portable power conduit near a server rack, yanked it free. With surprising strength, she jammed the exposed wires into a nearby emergency power outlet, creating a violent surge. The dim lights in the lab flickered wildly, the humming of the machinery faltered, and for a moment the robotic arms froze. It's a temporary overload, Michael yelled, his eyes glued to the console. I need more time. I'm trying to force a system-wide reset, but it's heavily firewalled. Thorne, momentarily stunned by the power surge, recovered quickly. You fool! You'll destabilize the entire facility. He lunged past David, ignoring him, heading directly for Michael. David, however, anticipated the move. With a desperate surge of adrenaline, he tackled Thorne, sending both of them crashing to the floor amidst the sparking wires and whirring mechanisms. Thorne, surprisingly strong for his build, struggled violently. The main network uplink, Michael shouted, his voice strained. It's exposed. If I can hit it with a massive data flood, it might force a hard reboot of the central server, disconnecting the network from the internet. The robotic arms, recovering from the surge, began to move again, converging on Michael. One of them clamped onto his arm, its grip iron tight. Michael cried out in pain, but his other hand continued to furiously type. Emily, seeing Michael trapped, looked around desperately. Her eyes landed on a large, heavy emergency shut-off switch, encased in glass, mounted on a pillar near the central chamber. It was labeled, Main Power, Project Chimera Core. Thorne! She screamed, her voice cutting through the din. This isn't immortality. It's a dead end. You're trapping yourself with them. Thorne, pinned by David, scoffed. I will be free. I will transcend. No. Emily yelled. You'll be nothing. Just another data point in your own twisted experiment. With a guttural cry, she smashed the glass cover of the emergency switch with her elbow, ignoring the pain. Her hand slammed down on the large red button. A deafening groan ripped through the lab. The humming of the servers intensified to a terrifying crescendo, then slowly began to die down, replaced by the sound of grinding metal. The central chamber, which had been softly glowing, flickered erratically, then went dark. The robotic arms, their power severed, went limp, releasing Michael. What have you done? Thorne shrieked, his face contorted in a mask of pure terror as he finally shoved David off him. He scrambled to his feet, staring at the darkened chamber, at the now silent servers. Michael, breathing heavily, pulled up a final diagnostic on his console. She cut the local power grid to the Chimera core. It's forcing a hard shutdown of the central processing unit. The network is going offline. As Michael spoke, a series of sharp, explosive pops echoed through the lab. Screens across the room flashed red, then went black. The emergency lights too began to fail one by one. The air grew cold. Thorne stood amidst the dying machinery, his eyes wide, his body trembling. The serene, godlike figure was gone, replaced by a man utterly broken. No. My work, my network, it's all gone. The mines, they're lost. Just then, a faint rhythmic thudding began to echo from beyond the lab's soundproof door. It grew louder, more insistent. The thudding of a battering ram. David, Emily, and Michael exchanged a look of exhausted relief. Help was finally here. Their earlier distress call, the one they'd barely managed to send before being trapped, had reached someone. The heavy door began to buckle under the repeated blows. With a final splintering crash, it burst open, revealing a team of armed tactical officers, flashlights beaming into the darkened lab. They swarmed in, weapons raised, quickly assessing the scene. Thorne, however, didn't seem to notice them. He stood amidst the wreckage of his ambition, his eyes fixed on the inert central chamber, muttering to himself, lost, all lost, they were so close to awakening. He was promptly apprehended, his resistance weak, his spirit utterly crushed. The officers secured the facility, their voices echoing with professional urgency. David, Emily, and Michael, bruised and shaken but alive, were led out into the cool night air. The moon hung high overhead, casting a pale glow on the world outside the shattered facility. The social media profiles of the deceased would no longer update. Project Chimera was over. But as David looked up at the vast, indifferent sky, a chilling thought lingered. Thorne's vision, however warped, had touched upon a profound question. What is consciousness? And in a world increasingly dominated by digital life, how far would humanity go to cheat death, to create a new form of existence? The profiles might be silent now, but the ghost of Thorne's ambition, the spectral possibility of a digital afterlife, would forever haunt the edges of their understanding, a chilling reminder of the line between innovation and madness, and the terrifying potential of technology to redefine what it means to be alive. The silence, for now, was perhaps the only comfort in a world suddenly made much, much larger, and far more unsettling.